Will the champions plot to infiltrate the evil Roxxon Corporation pay off, or will one of their members end up going in too deep? Well, let's hop into the pages of Champions issue number 7 and find out together, shall we? So then, as the comic opens up, Ms. Marvel, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and the others are playing what I can only assume is one of those many Marvel mobile games. I think I played Strike Force for a little bit. Being a comic book YouTuber, they always ask me if I want to play these games and promote them, but I never do. Yes, it would seem that the champions have a lot of time on their hands recently and are able to run big MMO raids because Kamala's Law is still clamping down on all the young heroes of the Marvel Universe, meaning they can't move as freely as they used to. Snowguard shows up to the LAN party and is all fire and brimstone, especially with Miles and Sam. Why? Because she found out that they got brand new internships over at Roxxon, the evil corporation behind Kamala's Law, and basically all the evil stuff the champions have been fighting for the last couple volumes. Ms. Marvel is ultimately forced to come clean to her teammate that this is all part of a much bigger operation to get members of the Champions team inside Roxxon to take them down from the inside. As Kamala puts it, spying and espionage shouldn't be too hard for your average teenage superhero. After all, if they can maintain secret identities, surely they can do some Serpico undercover work. Miles and Sam were ultimately chosen to try out for the new Roxxon intern program for two very particular reasons. One, their identities are still secret from the public, unlike Viv and Riri. And 3, they don't have a young anti-superhero law named after them like poor Kamala does. That being said, it's not like the new lady boss of Roxxon wouldn't absolutely have loved to get Kamala on her side for all the extra PR points it would score. Viv Vision, using her elite hacksaw skills in trying to make up for betraying the team in the previous arc, manages to sway the intern choosing process to favor her two teammates. Here's the rub though, and where things actually start getting interesting. Even with only 2 choices available to them, the new lady boss of Roxxon decides to pick Miles and not Sam, which actually ends up hurting Nova's feelings a little bit. In fact, Sam ends up overhearing the Roxxon top brass speaking about Miles, saying that he's hip, he's cool, he's urban, he ticks a lot of boxes, he's, well, you know. Well, Sam, on the other hand, he's just such a plain Jane everyman, so totally boring, not the hip young face we want for our brand new Twitter-style app, Roxxon. And honestly, if you're feeling a little meta-commentary here, then I can freely admit I feel it as well, almost like the book is saying that Sam always ends up being the odd man out of the champions because, well, of the original founding 3, he doesn't have his own book anymore and hasn't for a while. It's certainly an interesting take on the character, but then I'm reminded pretty much every writer before Danny Lord did basically the same thing with Sam, and it's getting to the point where how many times is he going to have to learn that he's an important, integral part of the team? Didn't we just do this in the last arc? Now, Riri, using her big science brain, does some digging into this brand new Roxxon social media app, and she discovers, hey, it's exactly like Twitter, designed entirely to steal users' information and sell it to big companies. But Roxxon is a big company, so they cut out the whole middleman thing. Furthermore, Riri and Miles both find evidence that would seek to imply that Roxxon is using this brand new social media app for social engineering and astroturfing. Basically, hey, you can start whatever conversations you want on our app, but we can choose what actually gets seen by everyone, and in doing so actually influence what the truth and what the news is. And you better believe Roxxon is ready to use this newfound power for some very nefarious means, like tricking Snowguard, Bombshell, and the Second Falcon into believing that a big anti-Roxxon protest is taking place and that they're the guests of honor. Also, hey, if you're actually invested in the character of Bombshell at all and you were a little upset about how she was basically the worst in that Outlawed storyline, she gives an impassioned speech about how she's seeing not one but 2 psychiatrists right now. Roxxon's big end goal here seems to be taking a bunch of the furloughed Cradle agents who are still very much in their employ to infiltrate the crowd undercover and wait for the same group of hired supervillains from the previous issue to cause a disturbance so they can swoop on in and look like the heroes, and the champions will end up looking like the bad guys. Ms. Marvel and the others launch into action as soon as possible to try and keep the peace once they know what the final endgame actually is, but unfortunately things have grown out of hand much too quickly for any of them to control. Nova actually gets a very heart-rending little scene wherein he comes into contact with a young woman who came to the protest to show her support for the champions, only now she's so scared and so freaked out and doesn't know what way is up or which way is down anymore. This very very personal attack only further emboldens Sam to try and get closer to the Roxxon Lady Boss. He may not be able to become one of their brand new interns, but he can still get close to the company if he's able to wrangle them a celebrity endorsement. Sam may not know any actual celebrities or influencers, but he does know the very famous Kamala Khan, the person that Roxxon wanted from the very beginning, and it's on that shocking note there the comic comes to an end. And so that was Champions issue number 7, everybody, and this newest issue from Danny Lore certainly has a lot of ideas on display here. I'm just not exactly sure about the pacing of it all just yet. As I mentioned before in my previous video, Lore probably finds themselves in a really uncomfortable position here, trying to deal with the fallout of Outlaw, trying to start a brand new storyline that's all their own. And yet I just cannot help but feel this early in the new arc we're retreading a lot of old ideas. It's certainly nice to see Sam Alexander get the spotlight yet again, but I cannot shake the feeling that every story he has had in the pages of Champions is always about how he doesn't measure up to the rest of the team. Either because he literally lost his powers, or because he doesn't feel as smart as all the other people on the team, or now where he doesn't feel as popular as everyone else on the team. At a certain point, it stops feeling like interesting character development and starts just feeling a little grating. This new internet age take on the evil energy giant known as Roxxon is certainly a realistic take on how evil internet companies act in real life. My problem is that Miriam Blakemore doesn't really have any sort of supervillain gimmick that helps sets her apart from the millions of other evil CEOs that make up comic books. At least Dario Agger was a Minotaur. If it sounds like I'm being harsh or overly critical, I really don't mean to. There's certainly enough to enjoy here. The art style continues to be bright and vibrant and exciting and a good fit for these characters. And my hope is that once they're done cleaning up the fallout from Outlaw, Danny Lore can hopefully move on to something a little bit more interesting and a little bit more their own. Overall, I'd give this one a 7 out of 10.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Jewel, and if you're seeing me right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, which I am very appreciative of. It really helps drive engagement and retention and all that other good YouTube stuff. So does liking and commenting. Wink, wink. If you like my content too, you should check out my Patreon page. We just redid all the tiers, so there's a ton of great rewards. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month, and well, it would just really help me out. It's never expected, but always appreciated. So until next time, everyone, I've been Cape Joel, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.